But the difference between big players and ordinary players, big players respond. Jayden was off. We all criticized him like, you didn't even include him in your A or B team. We're like, you're like, But the way he's taken it, and
don't you think that is the reason why he's angry? Because if immediately when he saw that, not even making a B squad. I think even this win leaves a bitter taste on everyone to say, yes, you won, but was it necessary to drag Rulani? Yeah. I think you could have won it without even bringing, because for me, the problem is the person that says, Rulani no masha baya kulunga.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the State of Football, where the game meets opinion, memory, and insight. We're back with another one, back like Mokokotlo. Three-man show. Dindo Pep, are you nice?
I'm nice, my boy. What to do?
I'm easy.
Easy.
Posa?
Hola.
Happy birthday, my boy.
Oh, thank you, Mkhotsi.
I'm not Tejwang.
When I'm spending my birthday with you guys. Like,
I mean, you're spending it with us doing what you love, so why not?
Why not?
Gents, we're kickstarting. Today we're talking everything Mamelodi Sundowns. First things first. I think last show we ended up Al Hilal. And then since then, they've played Al Hilal again, away, lost 2-1. Played Sekhukhune, won 2-0. Badletele Gomora, Nedbank Cup, 2-1. And Lulopo, Kokungo, DRC, 1-1. So I just want to package Khanyani Feda. Or, in terms of performances, results, so far, if our temperature are down, Suchens, Lebona guy.
Posa Otak.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoy your day, my guy.
No, thanks,
I know you're one of those guys that like exploring stuff. I'm hoping that it's going to be one of those days where you have an opportunity to explore, whether it's food.
I just need to get rid of you guys in like an hour, and then I'm going to enjoy my birthday.
And by the way, you look very good, my friend.
Thanks.
You look really good.
Thank you.
Autaka, what to do? I hope the people have been, the shows have been really doing really good, man. I've been checking out the engagement.
Yeah.
Shout out to the people that always engage. Shout out to the people that are always positive. Ababule pilo, man. You always say, man, bulang pilo. Other than that, man, to be honest with you, when you're talking about Mamelodi Sundowns and you're looking at the games that they've played ever since the AFCON, more especially in Africa. I think in Africa they've proven that they're a team that is resilient. They're a team that can play big match pedigrees. They're a team that can sustain, and the team that can deal with pressure, which is very important. I think sometimes when you play African competitions, you need more than the tactical, the technical. I think sometimes it's the psychological, because you're playing against teams that play for legacy. You're playing against teams that play for history. You're playing against teams that want to make pride. You're playing teams that want to impress their fans. They are also trying to sell themselves on the bigger market. So that's what Mamelodi Sundowns came across. With this Sekhukhune United, I think for me, it was a champions collection. I think every team, more especially big clubs, they always have those performances.
Yeah.
Very professional, with no romance, dominance in terms of ball position, in terms of circulation of the ball. You look at the squad auditing as well, the squad circulation. You're looking at Jaden Adams, what a footballer.
Yeah.
Reemergence of Jaden Adams.
Yeah.
Tatile wakundi chiskop bamhlalise phansi umfana bakhuluma naye bomatala. But bambonisa bathi kuye, boy, pekalalela. How many midfielders can play at your intensity, can play at your tempo, can pass on both feet, have the intelligence, have the football IQ, can create goal scoring opportunities, can collect from deep like a 6, can play an 8 that can control midfield. At some point, Jaden Adams was one of the second, or if not third best midfielders we have in the league.
Yeah.
I think the boy, the fact that he didn't go to AFCON, that made him angry.
Sure.
I think sometimes there's footballers that must play angry.
Yeah.
There's a clip, all or nothing with Pep Guardiola. Some of you perform better when you're angry with me. I think with Jaden Adams, there's a certain level of anger that we needed to go through. I always compare football players, Tibu, with musicians, with songwriters. They have to go through something sometimes for you to get the best songs out of them. Sometimes football players have to go through something. You're looking at Turile, we go to Orlando Pirates. It's a similar approach.
Yes.
I think Jaden Adams, if he's playing better when he's angry,
No.
I think he plays better when he's angry.
He's looking good. He's looking very good, my boy.
Yeah. So for me personally, to be honest with you, I think Mamelodi Sundowns' professional performance, as well as Gomora United squad rotation into that space as well. Another professional performance, no romance. The intensity to control the tempo, game management, which is important into that space. That's why you need to give the Mamelodi Sundowns players credit. You need to give the technical team credit. because to rotate a team, sometimes you lose a certain level of tempo, intensity, but for them to create the opportunities, because you watch Mamelodi Sundowns, the game here, Lipopo exposed that.
Yeah.
The one thing that it exposed is the chance creation, is that sometimes the team becomes too predictable.
Yeah.
And from a tempo and an intensity level, tactically, there's things that I like in the team. I'm going to be honest with you, more especially with how we play through the opponent. There's situations in the game where we would play over the opponent, more especially when we play in Africa, where we would rotate to our center backs, maybe play it wide to an opera, Kulisom down, and look for a diagonal touch. I sometimes needed us to be a little bit more arrogant. Sometimes someone knows Obambi Pola into that midfield, allow us to at least break through the midfield where we can find the possibilities of a run behind the defense, like the striker that we signed. Not my favorite in terms of being a ball player in Yawini, but what I like is the ability to run behind the defense. I always feel like you are a threat when you run behind the defense. Like those abilities. But if you look at the wins, you look at the performances, not convincing, but very professional.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we're trying, because we want to talk about yesterday's game separately. But if I can just take those games that you mentioned, I think overall, up and down for me. Obviously, the loss to Al Hilal was really disappointing. You look at this Sekhukhune game, like Lindo said, it was very professional. And I think in a season, teams go through moments. And I thought Sundowns, when they were not really at their best. But I think getting that last minute goal against Sekhukhune, those are moments that turn seasons around, And the fact that they managed to grind that kind of a result, the fact that second half performance against Lupopo, for me, I thought that was a turning point as well. The way they came back, the
Could have won the
resilience.
game.
So before we get into yesterday's game, I think the last few games for Sundowns, for me, it was the professionalism, like Lindo says, and also the resilience and the mental strength, which I think, to be fair to these boys, I think they've shown.
No, 100%. I mean, so going into MC Alger, I mean, already we're speaking in hindsight. The game was yesterday. We already know Mamelodi Sundowns are into the knockout stages of the CAF competition, Champions League in terms of that. Yesterday's game was against MC Alger. Big game, big build-up. For like weeks on end, we've been anticipating this game against MC Alger for a lot of reasons. Obviously, number one, Rulani's homecoming. He's coming back home. But over and above that, I mean, in the last week, you had two things. One, Mamelodi Sundowns fans online talking about a crisis. I don't know what you guys feel about that. Did we really have a crisis? Has it been a crisis? Or is it in hindsight, now that Mamelodi Sundowns has won, that we don't see it as a crisis? Should they have lost, is there a crisis? Number two, there's the allegations that came about the Mario...
The leaking of information.
Who's the analyst in the team, who's been suspended, I believe, for allegations of leaking information to Rulani. I mean, Rulani came back. He came out and said emphatically that, there's no such things. It's an old colleague. They're just having conversations on WhatsApp and character assassination, all those types of things. So I think maybe let's start with the build-up. With those two factors. So either one of you take
for me, I'll address the crisis. And I think I've always maintained, guys, there is no crisis at Sundowns. Have Sundowns been at their very best in the last, let's call it 6 months? No, they haven't. I think anyone who tries to argue that Sundowns have been at their very best is just, that's just But is it a crisis? I don't think so. I think that maybe because of the standards they've set, right? I think everything gets blown out of proportion, and I think it's so easy to run with a certain narrative, right? As if you think about it, Sundowns in May, they were winning the league with record points. In May, they were playing in the Champions League final. In June, the whole world was talking about Sundowns for their performances in the Club World Cup.
Correct.
And then the next thing, Sundowns is like 3 points behind. Yes, maybe they're not playing their best football, but it happens. And suddenly there's a crisis. When you are 3 points behind, you're still in your group. You can still qualify from, to next round of the Champions League. So no, I think talk of a crisis is an exaggeration. And I think it sort of, I think it affects the players as well. I think it affects, it creates this, for me,
Tension.
unnecessary pressure sometimes, which I think we overdo it. Yes, they're not playing. They've not been at their very best. I think to call it a crisis is extreme. I mean, look at Liverpool. Liverpool won the league last season. Look at where Liverpool are now. That is a crisis, But to call this what's happening at Sundowns a crisis, I think it's an exaggeration. What do you
They're
think?
spoiled.
Yeah,
Mamelodi Sundowns fans, maybe there's a bit of they're used to certain
I think
things.
everyone, and maybe it's because of the standards they've set for themselves. It is,
Yeah.
but I think we exaggerate a bit. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, for me personally, in particular, that game. I think for my opinion, that wasn't football. The build-up was not football.
Yeah,
I think it was just the Spygate, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that Miguel Cardoso, ever since he's landed into the country, I don't want to do an "I told you so" moment, but I did raise my concern when he came into the country, understanding the character of the coach, and understanding what he's coming into as a football club. The biggest responsibility Miguel Cardoso has at Mamelodi Sundowns, I can't stop emphasizing this, is it's not to win the league. It's yes to deliver the CAF Champions League. For sure, you need to win the league, but I'm not saying it's guaranteed to win the league. It's not winning is not guaranteed in football. But what we are saying is at least make the team complete. Number two, like what he always does, he wins the game in the dressing room. Not in the dressing room, I mean to say in the press conference, like they always did. For me, what Mamelodi Sundowns did, knew that it was going to put extreme pressure at the football club, at the technical team, go Flemingberg. And the idea of saying Umaria Masha, for example, was leaking information to Coach Rulani. Come on, get out of here. I showed you messages yesterday.
Yeah.
This guy sends me a lot of stuff. Coach Rulani sends people so many stuff. This man he doesn't sleep about football. He always engages, more especially if he likes your football brain.
Yeah.
The conversations I have with Coach Rulani about football, it's insane. We spend time every after football game sometimes and we speak for plus minus 20, 30 minutes. We send each other stuff, analysis from Ikora. From the Quora app, and we divulge deeper into certain things, things that I feel I need to understand, things that he probably feels. He's an open book.
Yeah.
We share a lot of technical knowledge, you and I.
Yeah.
Maybe we might not yet send each other stuff because maybe we are not at that space where we are under pressure to deliver certain information and certain data. But for me, I just felt like, why does Rulani need information about Mamelodi Sundowns? He understands the culture, he understands the club, he understands the fans, he understands the rhythm, he understands the weather, he understands the language. When Umuntu Stadium, when that guy stadium, Ari, Masandawana, Haribine, he understands that. That's an advantage to him because he can start saying to the players,
this is what's going to happen.
This is what's going to happen. This is what they're trying to do. He understands the language, which is also an advantage. But also that's a disadvantage in Algeria because there's certain messages, like little messages here, that he can't maybe probably come across. You understand that to those Algerian players. So for me, I just felt like it's a Spygate. I just felt like the build-up was not football, in my opinion. I just felt like it was unnecessary, and more especially in African football. I felt for other people it's important because you need that controversy in football. I think it's entertaining. I think it brings in the articles, it brings in the engagement. Everybody benefits from that. But for me, a person who's a purist, more especially about football, and obviously I'm a big lover of what the coach has done over the past years, which is Coach Rulani. I don't think for me it's appropriate to discourage or to degrade his character like that. True. I think he's probably the most hardworking coach we have, and more especially as a South African. What I did not like even was his demeanor coming into this match. I felt like
Cardoso.
Rulani.
Rulani.
Coach Rulani, I felt like he knew exactly that there's more important things, more especially because he's a South African. I think he was playing a protection game. If you watched him in the technical area, he stood very far away from Cardoso.
Yeah.
Normally, coaches stand not so very close to each other, closer to where they can make substitutions.
You kept showing me, Urebona.
He stood very far. He knew they would lay dramatic. He knew would lay dramatic. And you saw when he came to overlap on the other, if he did that, won't come headlines. Coach Rulani jumped and said this to Miguel Cardoso and so forth. And he knew that anything that he was going to say, anything that he was going to do, everyone begabaga a microscopic close to him.
So just for context, in case anyone doesn't know, when you say Cardoso jumping into what happened there, just
immediately when Mamelodi Sundowns scored the second goal, he was sitting on the bench with Steve Kompela, and players were celebrating. Of course, they actually celebrated on the other side of the pitch. Actually came back and ran to the other side. Well, while that action was happening, everybody was focused on that. Miguel Cardoso came to Coach Rulani's technical area, and literally the bench had to chase him. He literally ran. You know what I mean? And he came there to come and celebrate. And I think that it was a message to say, you have the information, you might have had the plans, but I got the better of you. Also, Miguel Cardoso has this thing, there's nothing you can do. Also, as coaches, this is probably the most frustrating thing why Mlung is he realizes this, I've played against this guy four times, I've drawn once, he's beaten me 3 times. And every time, context is important in football. He's had better teams. He's had the context of the match suited the narrative. Miguel Cardoso. In this instance, Rulani needs 2 seasons with that team. I think everybody who watched that match could see the quality difference. But I would also be critical to the coach and say, in my opinion, the biggest criticism is I was expecting him at least to lay a glove on Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah.
And the MC Alger didn't lay a glove on Mamelodi Sundowns.
They didn't.
From an attacking perspective, he started the game with a 4-2-2, with a 4-4-2.
4-4-2, yeah.
4-4-2. With 2 strikers that were playing lateral. They were pressing both centre backs, making it uncomfortable with them. The risk of pressing Ronza, he didn't want to take that, more especially in the beginning of the game. But he allowed the fullbacks to be free, which I believe that's where Mamelodi Sundowns hurt him, because Opre was unbelievable. Ukuliso was unbelievable on the right-hand side. But to make the midfield congested, the 2 wingers were tired already in halftime. I don't think the game plan worked, number one. I don't think the profile of the players he had on the pitch suited the style of play that he wanted, because he wanted to play, number one, a narrow game. He wanted to play a close game. Number 2, he wanted to play on a transition. He did not have pace up front. The game looked very close, in my opinion. Yes, I know he's a coach that doesn't like width, but when you're going away in games like Champions League, where you're going to play a very low game, a closed game, number 2, you're playing a deep game, then you need pace. And if you lack pace in those situations, it's going to be difficult to open a team like Mamelodi Sundowns, who can defend 1v1 with their centre backs, Inukrantu Ndamase, with Ukuliso and the intelligence Ukuliso, no Opre. So you can say that Miguel Cardoso won the tactical battle from that. Did Miguel Cardoso win the game on the pitch? 100%. Performance perspective as well. You look at the Mamelodi Sundowns players. I think from hunger, from attitude, I think the application was a little bit better. I think they fought for everything. I think they won each and every action on that pitch. You look at the organization from the captain, Ronza as well. I think Ronza was absolutely brilliant. From a tactical perspective, we don't want to say Miguel Cardoso won the press conference. I think he won the tactical battle. Sure. I think as well he won the post-match interview, because I thought he was going to be cocky. But I think Uzpete Grand. I think we are also making too much of this thing.
Yeah.
I think it was just a football moment. And the one I don't like is the Masha moment, because I engage with these people, and I find that we always have football.
He's currently suspended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to give Masha his job back. I think if you look deeper into that thing, Mamelodi Sundowns won the game. They did not need that. Yeah. And I feel like this win has left a bitter taste in my mouth.
So Lindo, let me and I think I put this to you yesterday, right? Let's play devil's advocate. Let's be objective, right? One thing that is very clear, if you just, from what Lawrence dropped, who I think he did a very good job, by the way, it's very clear that Rulani was not stealing Sundowns tactics. That is just any suggestion to there's nothing like that, right? But let's just be objective. Isn't there a world where you could maybe argue that if we are rivals, we are coaching teams that are rivals, right? It's not, even though I'm not giving you confidential information, but at some level it's inappropriate for me to be exchanging, especially when Rulani himself says we even exchange certain things that we did together at Sundowns. I mean, surely there's a level of inappropriateness there, surely, because think about it this way. Would you say the same if Chiefs and Pirates assistant coaches were exchanging ideas on WhatsApp? Because MC and Alger and Sundowns are rivals in the same group. So I don't think he was definitely not stealing their tactics.
So are you saying when during this group stages, as we know that there's big games coming between the two teams,
yes,
maybe that communication should cease a bit and
absolutely
then can continue post?
Yes, and I'm not saying they should not communicate. And to be fair, I think Sundowns milked this. I think they made much more of this, maybe to try to ease the pressure on Cardoso, I think they definitely milked this more than they should have. But I think we can argue that to some extent, maybe they shouldn't be exchanging, those kind of, certain type of information. Or would you respond to that?
I really hope Mamelodi Sundowns wins this CAF Champions League.
Yeah.
For the reputation of Coach Rulani.
Yeah.
And for the sake of a black South African coach. Because what they did to him is dirty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To sacrifice a coach for a win.
For sure. Should have been handled better. It should have been handled better.
I think even this win leaves a bitter taste on everyone to say, yes, you won, but Was it necessary to drag Rulani?
Yeah.
I think you could have won it without even bringing, because for me, the problem is the person that says Rulani no Masha Baya Kulum. How do you even get access to those things?
And I'm getting to that. Look at the timing, first of all.
And how do you find it
It's
wrong?
very
And
convenient.
who
yes.
found those things? So what are people spying on each other? Like,
What is that?
What is going on? Let's go into the game.
Let's go into the game.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to wrap this up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we need
So
to
three
wrap it up.
things. We go into the game
Mhm.
in terms of actually what transpired on the pitch.
Mhm.
Number two, I want to highlight some players
Yeah.
in terms of just more on the positive side, in terms of
Mhm.
performances. And you mentioned Jayden,
Mhm.
his resurgence, and there's a couple more players that I think we need to mention. And number four, something that came up, it comes up all the time about Mamelodi Sundowns killing, the national team, and you know that conversation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's first start game.
Yeah.
Nel stadium gents le shebile live ka see
Yeah.
go no bona
No busy ka Valentine. Now what last
Ema pele, man e hlwena man ne ke le busy man ke bophelo ke ntho tsa bophelo tsena, so opportunity cost, but yeah le bone Cardoso a matha, you saw everything.
Yeah.
So from the feel in the stadium to the tactics to the performances, Mpo, let's start with you, boy.
Okay. I think for me, get the 8 and 9 out of 10 all round.
All players
Starting
and
with,
coach.
starting with the fans.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I know that, football fans, we always have banter.
Yeah.
When you're king the banter against Sundowns, king 57, the 57
57
fans.
fans,
It's
yeah.
always funny.
Mhm.
But Sundowns have an amazing fan base. And I don't want to compare. Chiefs and Pirates have amazing fan base. That's fine.
Talking about the
because
feel,
we're
the
talking
vibe
about
at
the
the
Sundowns
stadium,
game,
right? Yeah.
unbelievable. I'll give the Sundowns fans a solid 10 out of 10. They were sensational. And when they needed to lift the team, because the game ebbed and flowed a bit until maybe the last 20, 30 minutes where they really grabbed control of the game.
Mhm.
Even when felt like the players needed a lift, the fans were always there. The fans were just great. Cardoso.
Mhm.
I don't think I've done this often, but I think I give Cardoso a solid 9.5 out of 10. Thought the lineup was exceptional. Was just great. That's proper lineup. I thought the substitutions were excellent. Just at the right time. Just as you're about to lose control of the game, MC Alger is starting to get a bit of a sniff.
Yeah.
Bring on Allende, grab control of the game,
Spoke about Mshishi also.
Bring on
when he came
Mshishi at the right time. I thought Shaluli at the right time. I thought Cardoso was great. And I thought the players, for me, I think it was one of those games where besides tactics on that, you needed a response. You needed players to show that, sometimes big players do that thing where they sort of remind all of us. Like I got that feeling. I got that feeling that Kuliso was saying, and like, guys, like, and I got that from most of the players on the pitch. So just to start the conversation, I would say 8 and 9 out of 10 for the players, the fans, the technical team. Lindo, what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? The identity of the Betway Premiership this season has been a transition, league. I think yesterday we watched a very tactical game.
Yeah.
I think the Champions League has shifted to that, and big credit to the coaches that are in that space that have moved the league, the Champions League, from being a physical. They are still teams that are still very much physical.
Yeah.
But I think it has become more of a tactical league than a transition or a physical league. And other than that, I think for me, tactically, you watch both teams, Coach Rulani coming with a 4-4-2. And I thought that I did explain earlier that I think that they did not have control. I think they lacked pace. I think that the team was deep, but also very close. When you're looking at a Mamelodi Sundowns that made the pitch very wide, I thought that Aubrey as well as Ukudisha were very good. You're looking at Matthews as well as Usales. I think that people are not giving Usales enough credit.
For sure.
And
I think that he's not
played as a
spoken
10,
about. Played as a 10.
Very good.
Let me tell you, the more you watch him live, the more you get the feel that hide him from the ball.
Yeah.
Bring Jayden closer to the ball. Bring Matthews closer to the ball, because Matthews has got these incredible one-touch passes where they feed him the ball and he takes a positive touch where he faces and looks at the goal mouth. Now Usales has got these incredible runs where he takes one, if not two, away from the pass. And then this is where Hilal is going to have to be important at Mamelodi Sundowns, where he's always going to have to avail himself for that 1-2 and a combination pass. But you look at Matthews, Sales, I think they played a crucial role, supporting Jayden from whether deep or in those progressive spaces where he can receive diagonal and connect diagonal passes, where he can play quick integral 1-2 passes to break the opponent. Aubrey, exceptional from the left-hand side in terms of
Yes,
decision making,
yes.
in terms of pacing himself.
Yo.
Nothing is more important as pacing when you're playing on wider areas
Yeah.
because you are the first point of attack. His pacing always on the right time, always on the right spaces, occupies the right zones, the decision making. That's why he gets the pick backs. It's either he picks it to penalty spot, he plays it across, or he picks a man, whether from Ngentloko or whatever the case may be. Very impressed with Jayden Adams.
Yeah.
Very, very impressed. Tebs, I think he played a professional game with Tebs. I think Tebs played a professional game, a 7 out of 10 game,
Yeah.
a very clean, won his
Did
jewel.
what he needed to do.
Jayden played a 9 out of 10 game, in my opinion. Kunala alphasa khona al support al compressor al shukumisa al sweeper. Nguzi crowd isukuma makaqeda dlala
No,
u-1-2.
Jayden nalhata vela.
Which one is this one?
Ngiyakuyibona uma ibheke
I didn't
TV,
know that side of Jaden's game.
Never ibona isho because TV. I'm so
Yeah.
kunala armor Jayden. A connector, you know, and very impressed to see him, the reemergence of him. Marcelo Allende comes onto the pitch, and Mina, I don't normally stand up for football players. No, so
How did the crowd react, Muna?
kunala kudlalwa khona 2-3 passes. Kunala game. There was a period in the game where the game was close. The game was very. You felt like
Tense,
the game. You felt the game tense. You felt the game is too. It's calculated passes.
Yeah.
When he came on, he took a little bit of a risk. You could see players taking those one-touch passes that are not planned, that are not calculated.
Yeah.
And we are born it's football art. When he came onto the pitch, Nomshishi, you saw football art, I think, in its essence, where you can't coach that. They were dancing.
And you saw even the body language of the Alger players.
No.
When Allende came on Automodi connected.
Yeah, no, it's football dancing.
You could see it was inevitable. No, it's one of those. It's one of those days full of tasks, you know.
Credit to Ronza, I think he was exceptional in the build-up process.
Yeah.
I think took a lot of risk. Credit to Kuluman and Damasa as well. I think he played very well. Winning his jewels
What a
as
player,
well.
man.
Football left with the left foot. Very
Fantastic left centre back. Unless he goes to Europe, Sundowns has got a solid 8-10 years of but top.
Yeah, the fans for
left
me,
centre.
10 out of 10. think the fans are solid. I think the fans are really, really good.
Yeah.
In terms of the technical team, I just want to advise the coach Steve Kompela. Please talk to Miguel Cardoso. I know that maybe they might have whatever they have with the coach Rulani. Hope not. But just protect one of your own. I know that you are the club, you've got the responsibility to win. But they ring an alengwenya.
I think it was a game of consequence, ne? Because it was the pressure. There was so much build-up. There was so much tension, so much toxicity. So I think, like you were saying, Mpo, the coach was probably just responding.
Yeah, but
Probably going forward.
Maybe, yeah.
Can
Can I ask you guys this, ne?
Yeah.
In the last episode, when we spoke about Sundowns, we complained about the lack of width and the fact that at best you get the width from Kuliso, you get the width from Aubrey. And we're not convinced. We thought it's a bit predictable. Having Thapelo Morena, who's a natural wide player, more of a natural wide player, having him in the team from a tactical perspective, how do you think that influences things?
Run behind the defense, good first touch, which the first principle of, and this is for young players, the first principle and first quality you must have when you're playing wide is a very good first touch. Why? Because there's always a why in football. Distance means time in football. If you have a very good first touch, you are giving yourself enough time to think and to make the right or to even pick the right decision.
Yeah.
So very good first touch, first quality of him, run behind the defense, decision making was solid yesterday. I think he became a threat. He brought in energy. He brought in the volume. He's a player that can defend larger spaces based on the volume and the capacity that he has as in his qualities, of course. Very good football player, Uma Trapa. I thought that there was a period in his career I felt make a move to play football.
Yeah.
You know, I thought maybe there's a period where I felt make a move to play football, but he always surprises me every season for some reason. At the end of the season or at the crucial phase of the season, he becomes every season an important player for Sundowns. And I think again this season, funny enough, he might be a player that we're relying on that right wing because when he came on, to be honest, I felt like we are a little bit more dangerous. I felt like we are a threat. We can hurt them even more.
Yeah, for me, I think it gives variety, you know, because you've got Matthews on the other side who
wants to tuck in,
become an extra 10 kind of, and then I think just having that natural width.
Yeah.
You know what? I also thought having Thapelo there, I think it also helps a lot with the race defense because if you look at Kuliso, when he's got Thapelo in front of him, right? Remember, he does not now have the responsibility of providing all that width. because even their shape when they don't have the when they're taking and Tapelo is up there, Puliso sort of stays. You don't see them getting hit with some of those counterattacks. So I think Tapelo, guys, I don't think we give him enough respect, and it's probably because he's stuck. Sometimes he's a right back, he's a
Right
winger, he's a
wing,
wing back. But I think he's still a crucial member of the Sundowns team.
I think it's a Mkhuliso situation as well.
Yeah.
We feel that he's so good that he deserves to be on the pitch week in, week out. And I think that our analysis of Utapelo comes from the fact that you should be on the pitch.
For sure.
I don't think we all analyze him from a space of him not being on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think when we speak about him, we speak about him on the pitch.
Let's talk about Jayden.
Linda has been giving him his flowers, but yay. I mean, when the season started, I mean, remember even with Junior and all of those things, the controversies.
From now on, Stadium got scary. If we ever see hair on that guy,
Kerang diding.
Kerang, carry this cheese cup. Yes, this is the Jayden we ordered. One of this is the Jayden. And for me, and one thing that impressed me about the Sundowns players, and I'm going to mention it got Jayden, but with other players as well. But the difference between big players and ordinary players, big players respond. Jayden was off. We all criticized them like, you didn't even include him in your A or B team. We're like, you're like, But the way he's taken it and
he's come back. Don't you think that is the reason why he's angry? Because if immediately when he saw that, not even making it,
and he's back, like not making the AFCON. But let me ask you from a tactical perspective, Jayden, best position, 6'8", because he can do everything.
Where do you hide a player like Jayden? Like modern football as well has these new principles in the game where the 6 or the 8 has certain qualities and principles that he has to have so that he can execute certain game plans. I've always felt like midfielders, more especially that are like where Jayden plays, needs to be complete.
Sure.
I've always felt like you need to have a little bit of everything, because when we want to play a slow game, when we want to play a quick game, when we want to play on a transition, when we want to build up, when we want to play on the second ball, when we want to play through, over, around, you need to be able to have all of those qualities, because that's why you even, most of the time they're giving you number 10. Tiwa general, ubizwa general. Twana moshale position, even us as football players, there's a certain level of respect that you get. There's a certain level of opportunities that you always have. You always have the nicest boot. You always get even the chairman. Kulunya now because you are the guy to carry the team. And for me, I've always felt like Jayden's best position is probably as a number 10.
Okay.
If not as a number 10, and I'll tell you why as a number 10. Because in the Champions League, you need, and I always mention the same thing, midfielders that can defend larger spaces. Jayden will never give you that level of energy. He will never give you that energy and that volume gambata to cover distance and to occupy certain positions without the ball. That's why you will find that Marcelo Allende, it's another big question that we need to ask actually with him when we play those kind of matches, where sometimes we need a physical player, you need an obas, someone who can also who can have the defensive qualities in him. And I just feel like sometimes you can hide Jayden as a 10 that can play as a 10. As
an 8.
A 10 that can play as an 8.
Okay.
Where he can occupy those half spaces because he's got a late run into the box. He can. A lot of people don't give him credit. He scores a lot of goals with his header.
Yeah.
He scores goals. He's an 8 that can go into the box and score.
Yeah. I like him as an 8. For me, he's an 8. And you know why, ne?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at, because for me, I always say the best midfield is not necessarily the midfield that has the best midfielders.
Okay.
It's a midfield that has midfielders who complement each other best.
Yeah.
I think Jayden, because he's so complete, when he plays as an 8, he allows everyone else to also do a bit of everything, right? Because when he plays as an 8, Themba, if Themba is your 6, we all know Themba also likes to get on a bit, right? But when he's played with Jayden, I think he's quite a bit more, because Jayden is very comfortable.
I think it works.
Or on a vibe, right? And then remember, then you got a Santos who we are forgetting, right? Santos is also a kind of 8 who likes to also drop in and be like an 8, right?
Let me tell you, I think it works best when you actually play, maybe when you play a 3-man midfield. That's why I'm saying the best possible way to hide Jayden is you need to answer the question of when we don't have the ball.
Yes.
And we are playing against a team that has got pacey wingers, that the first the first line of attack is to find a deep diagonal dodge that breaks 2 lines or 2 blocks of 4 that finds a deep diagonal dodge behind the defense. Now, how do you counter for that? You are asking Tebza to say, Tebza, if ukhuliswa mdawo ukhuphukile on the right hand side and abadlali winger lapha in that space, ugrant possibly if he's too far, you have the responsibility to follow the run. If Grant is 5 meters closer, Grant follows the run, you replace Grant in that space. Now you're asking Jayden to have the volume and the capacity to occupy space. I think sometimes he's late.
Okay.
And in games of consequence, in those spaces in the Champions League final, in the semi-final of the Champions League, when you're playing against Pirates, he was caught in the beginning of the season, where he was late in situations where we needed him to be in that space. Marcelo Allende, that's what gives him the advantage. It's the tactical nuance that he has. I probably think he's probably the most tactical player we have in the league because he understands his limitations, more especially defensively, but I think he has the intelligence and the tactical intelligence to occupy zones to help him maybe deal with the defense. I think Umbata mentioned it as well, to say when Marcelo Allende came to the country, to say defensively he's always late. And that was not a lie if you look at it in hindsight, to say defensively, sometimes there's areas where Umbata would always receive free when he was playing against the Sundowns. But that's because Marcelo Allende was maybe 2 yards away from him. And I think Jayden has that problem as well when he plays as a
do they have to? Do you think Allende le Jayden is an either or? Do you think they have to compete for a position?
Of course.
Or do you think there's a world where they can play together?
I think it's either when you play them together, you play them as 2 8s. Jayden has more of a responsibility of being closer to a 10-8, where he can join in the box.
That's what I mean. That 8 who can sort of yes.
Because you can't also limit to Jayden not to go into the box.
And if a 4-man midfield, like what we saw towards the end of the game, a diamond-ish, Tebza, Jayden, Allende, and a roaming 10
with 2 strikers.
Either 2 strikers or one striker,
one half.
I don't see him playing
wide.
I don't see him playing on the left or in the right hand 8.
Yeah.
I don't see him as well playing as the center, at the tip of the diamond.
Yeah.
In that situation, I can, because Jayden is so complete. You can at Stellenbosch, you can even use him as a deep playing playmaker, because also you on paper it's a 6. But in the system, he's a deep playing playmaker. So he creates from deep. So what you are asking him is you have the ability to have 10 and to be press resistance, collect the ball from that deep, help us progress the ball into these areas. When we get into these areas, then maybe you are saying to the other 8, because Ntwana Wena, you don't like joining in the box, maybe come closer to occupy space Saga Jayden, because football is that complex. Then Jayden can make another 5 yards closer to the progressive lines where he can either join in the box or still do his creative duties.
No, I'm with you. But it's very clear that there's a lot happening. I think having a Jayden, basically Sundowns is like they've signed a new player. Because we had written him so much. Written him so much. And this version here, Jayden, it's like a new signing. So that midfield dynamic, Santos, I think briefly,
something.
Mara, you know what's challenging, and this is why Jayden, I always tell him that he's one of my favorite footballers, because Jayden, because modern football, it's very difficult to see the talent. It's either you see it or you don't see it. It's that talent that has to be hidden in the system, more especially in modern football. And I was listening to Godfrey speaking about how to hide the number 10, where they hide the number 10, and I've spoken about it. I think maybe Godfrey spoken about it because he's a former player, and maybe it got more traction. But I've said it long time ago that our number 10s, we need to be hidden. They start from wide coming in. I've said that's why we struggle producing that player, because we always have to hide them, because they don't have the capacity to play in the 3. Because when you play in the 3, it's that problem that Jayden has. It's that problem that maybe they are seeing Umkhulise. That problem that they had with Utiko, that's why they played Umabunda, Nokekana, is the ability to say, when we don't have the ball, we are playing with smart midfielders who are tactical, who occupy certain zones when they play on a transition, and it causes us problems. Now, those players, how do you hide them on the pitch? And I think that's why Jayden struggled at Mamelodi Sundowns at some point, because we needed to play him in positions where we can hide him and then use him when we need him.
Yeah.
And on the ball, to break lines, to penetrate, to join in the box, to be effective in terms of receiving extra extended passes. He's good with his back towards goal. He can pass with both feet. So that quality in his game, it's something that he needed to improve. And that's why I'm saying, whatever he reached to, where he got into a space where he wanted to fight for that 8 position, kudos to him.
Yeah.
You know, kudos to him.
Yeah. I think we need to wrap it up, ne?
Yeah, we have
First
to.
things first. But before we wrap it up, utleleng tshela hore he mshisha ke ena maobane ntwana. Justice. Crowd baqadile bashanamba mshisha qala ayihata.
Yeah. Lindo, did you know when they started singing that song? Themba Zwane. Like
Themba
the way, guys,
Zwane.
honestly, Mshishi is, I think he's Mamelodi Sundowns royalty. And I think he's South African football royalty. I can tell you now, we've all watched the PSL for so many years. Very few, the way the crowd was lifted. The players, his teammates, the way you can see the way he just lifts.
Yeah.
The fact that he's coming on, the way he just lifts everyone. Don't a low position wabona. They know what's coming. It's like, so I think if you talk, I think every football loving country has certain players that really epitomize what makes them unique, right? And I think it's not an exaggeration to say, if you're talking at Dr. Kumalo, Eshuz Mshweu, Teko Mudisa for me, Thabo Mooki, Surprise Moriri, Hagas Mshishi.
In that conversation.
Like, before we even talk about his ability, just what he means to everyone. And it's like, because it's been so long, someone. What do you think?
Do you know Ganso?
Yeah, go Brazil.
Brazil,
Yeah.
Fluminense.
Yeah.
That's Ganso Mshishi for you. That's Themba Zwane Mshishi for you.
Yeah.
For us in South Africa.
That's what he means.
One of those players that never got an opportunity to play in Europe, like the Ronaldinho, the Neymar, the Vinicius Jr. Just like Abutimbi Nkosi Lodge, Teko Mudisa, Simpiwe Shabalala, all of those players. I think when you're talking about Themba Mshishi Zwane, you're talking about generational talent. I think that the only disadvantage in Mshishi's career is that he never played for the Soweto teams. So he might not have the God-like treatment.
But doesn't he?
And I'll tell you why. Umshishi is one of the players. When you're looking at the players that are playing currently in South African football, he's probably the only star who has created this Hollywood stardom around him. He leads with aura. Everything around him revolves around aura. And even when you look at the entertainment industry, you look at the creative industry, the storytelling industry, whatever the case may be, the actors and dancers and all of those things, it's very rare to have a star. Nowadays in South Africa, we've killed the celebrity culture, we've killed the star culture.
Yeah.
I think that in football, the only player that might possibly have, without even having been playing for both Soweto teams, is Mshishi. I think that he probably might be the first player who's played for Sundowns that might get the godlike treatment that the Soweto players get, or the players that have played for the Soweto teams get. I think he's Ganso, man. He's an exceptional football player.
But his actual performance, great. Ne?
I think we are overhyping the performance because of the player.
Okay.
I think it's still an average Mshishi performance. I think it's still a good Mshishi performance.
You think he's coming back? You think he can
give him time?
Do you see a future for him in this team? Considering we're talking about Jayden, Santos, Allende, do you still
potentially
see
World Cup call-up maybe?
Yeah. I don't know, but what I'm saying is, for us to actually appreciate Mshishi, those players, give him 4-5 games.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give him games.
Okay. Yeah, but I was really impressed. Yeah.
No, clean. I think let's wrap it up. Yo, we've been going longer than.
And we say 20 minutes. Yeah.
We've been going
20 minutes alone.
Yo.
We tried.
Yo, boys. Okay, but you know what? You know, sometimes when there's insight, You know, a bit of passion. You know, mix it in there with a bit of flavor, and we got what we got. But other than that, gents, I think we're gonna wrap it up with Mamelodi Sundowns. Everybody. When Linda started Bulandi Pelo, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. If you don't like what we say, you can tell us. It's okay. You can tell us, no, guys, you guys are wrong here and there or whatever it is. And let's subscribe. Let's engage. Don't insult us, though. You know, Lenal Rato Ragana good comments.
Hey,
No.
hey,
Anyway, it's all good. See you on the next installment, State of Football. Catch you on the flip side.